Welcome back to my Mythical Meta. I'm joined by all of the Metapods. Everyone is here, just lime green and hardening. I've got Benjamin here.
Hello.
Derek is here.
I'm here.
And my Japan travel buddy. We're home after a 3-week vacation. Randy is here.
Hey, yo.
Ooh, recovering from that jet lag was not easy, was it, Randy?
No, it took a few days.
It took a few days for me, too. I've been tired just about every afternoon. It's been insane. But to travel for 35 hours this direction was crazy.
Oh, God, yeah. I was probably out for about 48 hours total.
Yeah, it was wild. The very next day, my grandma surprise came over, like the day we got home.
Get out of here, Grandma!
So I was like, oh my God, why are you over here? I am dead.
Get out of my face, you old hag!
Hey, I love my grandma.
No, we love Grandma.
Yeah, it was an awesome trip. Obviously, some major highlights, going to the Gundam base. The city of Kyoto was incredible, beautiful. Randy, what were some highlights for you?
Even though we didn't hike Mount Fuji, the views of Mount Fuji were pretty incredible. The train ride out there, you were asleep for it, but the train ride out there was pretty incredible. It was like you're just on this little road on like the side of like a pretty big hill, small mountain. I don't know what you would call it, but like you're on this road and you're on like the cliff side of it, and you just like look down and there's just some town down there nestled between these two small mountains, and it's just like, whoop, man, one wrong dog in the middle of the road, and this bus is going over the edge.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm glad I slept through that.
But I mean, yeah, it was exciting.
Yeah. Well, cool. Benjamin, Derek, what did y'all do for 3 weeks?
I lived the life, man.
What kind of life?
I don't remember, to be honest.
How's Bandit?
I don't remember what I did last week. Bandit is going to be graduating from his puppy school this Tuesday.
Aw, congratulations.
And immediately going into advanced.
Puppy grad school?
The literal next day. and then going into his puppy doctorate.
Will he get lots of cool certificates for the wall?
I think we'll get a little picture. And we'll see if we can get him to wear the hat.
Yes, please get him to wear the hat.
God, I want to see it, but he is
hold
not.
A scepter.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be held, doesn't want to be dressed up or anything, so we'll see.
Well, that's what puppy grad school is all about.
Yeah,
right?
Learn how to wear human clothes for our entertainment.
Yes,
that's right.
Precisely.
Dance, doggy, dance.
Man, Kristen's old dog Scout was so good at wearing stuff and posing for pictures.
Yeah.
Was just insanely photogenic. Duke and Daisy, not so much.
They would just eat the stuff off of themselves.
Precisely.
Yeah, I think Bandit might do the same thing.
Benjamin, what you been up to?
Ugh, working. Just
working
so much work.
5.
Take this job and shove it.
Nope, because I'm working for myself. So
yeah.
and 9 to 5, I wish. This week's been especially bad because a lot of times I work from home and the hours are flexible. But when I have to go downtown, it's either don't get there till 9 or get there at 7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Working 9 to 9.
2 hours worth 2 hours worth of rush hour.
Yep. And you work too much. So when I arrive at work, I have to scan in for parking. I have to pay for parking every day, and it's good for 12 hours. And more than once this week, I would get the notification on my phone. You've only got 15 minutes left on your parking. So.
Ugh.
There's no job on Earth I would love enough to deal with that. Be it for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, I mean it's not most days, and the fact that I get to turn around and then spend some days at home.
Right.
There's definitely been more than once where it's like, hey, let's go to Costco. Just in the middle of the day.
Yeah.
but the pay, it earns it back. It takes it back from you on this week. So yep.
I took our podcast advice and joined a pickleball group.
Ooh.
Hey, did you make some extra friends?
I don't know anyone's name or anything. I haven't actually
okay.
gone. I was going to go play pickleball with family, and this group was there, and I said, I fought the urge to walk away, and instead went up and said, "Hey, what's the situation? How do I get in on this?" So they added me to the group, and it's like 50, like 20 people or something like that. I don't know. I mean, it's a lot of people. They filled up 4 whole courts.
Oh wow,
4 people. So
Derek, that's really cool.
yeah.
You're taking that introverted self and just unfolding.
I didn't like
opening up.
Layers.
Here we are.
Layers.
He's
That's
a parfait.
right. Pickleballs have layers. Derek, that's awesome. That sounds like a lot of fun. We definitely want updates from that.
Yeah.
Well, it is so great to be back and to be back podcasting, and better than ever. This week's Patreon shout out is for our patron, Dahlia.
Hey.
All right, Dahlia. Thank you so much
I love
for...
you.
Wow, that was pretty deep. LL4.
I love you.
Love level 4. Don't you think is it a little too soon for level 4, Derek?
No, Dahlia's been a patron for a little bit. I think it's time to make it to the next level.
Yeah, I guess love level... So, guys, love level 1 is I see a connection between us. So, yeah, I guess we're a little past that.
Is this like Sim stuff? I don't know what this is.
It's Bachelor stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's reality TV love.
I'm too cool for Bachelor stuff.
Love level 1 is I see a spark or I feel a connection between us. Love level 2 is I'm starting to fall in love with you.
Oh.
Love level 3 is I'm falling in love with you. And love level 4 is I love you.
Aww.
What's level 5? I'd kill for
I
you.
despise you. I despise you, but I'm gonna stay.
I
Love
would
level
eat you so you're
5
inside
is-
me.
Oh my god. Love level 5 is usually something like I didn't know I could love you more than I did before, but now I love you more. It's just flowery versions of LL4.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think I love you for real.
So Dahlia, Derek loves you for real. I think I'm at love level 3 maybe. Falling in love with you, Dahlia.
I'm head over heels.
We are so glad that you're here, that you've stayed faithful to the pod, and we are thankful to all of our listeners, all of our followers on YouTube, Instagram. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us, and please let us know what type of content you want. Speak with your likes and comments, and join our Patreon. Patreon.com/MyMythicalMeta. Benjamin, what's the first major perk for patrons?
All patrons get a 20% off code that you can use at eldoradogaming.com to get 20% off your order, each and every order. This is not a one-time code. This is not a use it for a limited time and then you pay full price. When you are a patron, you get 20% off at eldoradogaming.com forever. Get your premium metal dice, accessories, which we actually have a lot of new stuff that still needs to be put on the website. Some really cool spin-down metal counters, lots of new deck boxes, things for you to check out, and those will be coming up in the next few weeks. So get your 20% off coupon and check it out.
Yes, very cool. When we went to Baycon earlier in the summer, it was so fun to see all of the new types of dice, and especially the deck boxes that we have. So those deck boxes that we have, the Commander's Refuge, are really beautiful. They come in a version that contains a window, so you can showcase a favorite card, or versions without the window too, and they're simply stunning.
Yeah, and the ones without a window are actually, they're nice. You can use them for dice storage. Obviously, they're designed to fit a double-sleeved deck of 100 cards, but obviously, if you play 60-card formats with a sideboard and some tokens, that would work.
Or 40 Yu-Gi-Oh players.
You can put 2 Yu-Gi-Oh decks
40
in there,
cards with your extra deck.
Yep.
Plus some counters. Good to go.
But for me, you stick a bunch of dice in there, and they're padded, so it can protect your high-quality dice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, those dice boxes are really nice. I can't wait to get them on the website. Randy, what's another perk for our patrons?
Early and ad-free content. You will never see an ad if you're a patron.
That's exactly right, and you're always going to get our material usually about 3 days early. Stuff for patrons comes out on Fridays, while everybody else gets stuff on Mondays. So join that Patreon and get your material early. You get to listen to the podcast over the weekend instead of having to wait for everybody else. And the last is access to the My Mythical Meta Discord server. This is where we're hanging out right now, where we record our episodes, and where we talk throughout the week about upcoming events, about games we're playing, and right now we're talking about a deck building challenge. So if you're interested in jumping to the next level of your involvement with My Mythical Meta, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/MyMythicalMeta. All right. As the summer winds down and students return to school, we take a step back from hot take summer, and the takes get milder. We have a lukewarm take from Derek this week. I think a lot of people will already agree with his take, but we are going to talk about a possible problem, brainstorm some possible solutions. Derek, what's our topic this week?
This is something that has gotten my goat for the last few years. I hate the EDH 1 to 10 power level scale identifiers that we put on stuff. I absolutely just hate, because everyone always, I mean, it's a meme at this point. It's like, oh, my deck's a 7. What does a 7 mean? We can't get the whole community to agree what one number means. I'm trying to...
Can you briefly kind of tell us what that number scale looks like, or what the numbers mean, and then tell us why you hate it?
Yeah, so the way I understood it, starting EDH, 6, 7, 8 years ago now?
Yeah.
Oh my god, almost 10 years ago now? Is that it's a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best. Around 4 or 5 is what people would consider the pre-con. Just you go to the store, you buy one of the box, you open it up, play it that day. That was considered a 4 or 5 because it has an idea built into it. It's not super strong. It's not super weak. It kind of it's trying to do something. Yeah. Then you start getting into your upgraded precons, and you start switching out a few cards, upgrading the mana base, that kind of stuff, a 5 or 6, and then you start getting into the good stuff. Now we're going 6 to 7. That's where you've got a pretty good idea of what you're doing. To say this is all for casual EDH right now. And then 8 is probably you're playing out of your mind, casual EDH. You're playing the best version of your deck without going into 9 or 10, which is CEDH, and getting into the infinite combos, all the stuff. They're almost like two different games, but they're exactly the same. It's so weird that they're on the same scale.
Yeah.
To me. It's when does a casual deck start being a competitive deck? This just one card doesn't make the difference from an 8 to a 9, or a 9 to 10, or a 5 to 6. It's so hard. It's like a spectrum. Because we can have 100 cards out of 10,000, 100,000 cards.
I don't think it's up to 100,000 yet, but it is pretty high.
Yeah.
Isn't it 30,000 something?
It's something ridiculous. If we're not to 100,000 yet, I'm sure within the next year or two we'll get there with this, as fast as their products are coming out.
Yeah.
So it's the thing I hated the most about it is because they start at a 4 or 5 with the pre-con. So that means 1 to 4 is somehow worse than a pre-con. So you've just taken 100 cards, thrown them on the table, and that's it. I can't believe there's that much nuance between 1 and 4 for it to be any kind of difference. This 100 card slop is different from this 100 card slop, but it's still worse than what are we doing? And then when you start getting into the 6, 7, 8s, there are so many different ways, and maybe you have a bad day. You don't draw the cards you need, and so your deck feels worse. But how do you judge it based on RNG? So I hate this scale. I hate when people say it's about a 7. It's it's this or that. That tells me nothing. It means nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it just feels like this number scale is not useful in the purpose that a power level scale is supposed to serve, which is help me determine if our matchup would be a fair matchup with a push and pull and a satisfying battle. This scale, I mean, I totally agree with you. It does not provide any information that would help me determine if it would be a good fight or not.
Yeah, I mean, my 7 and your 7, we play in our own little echo chamber meta groups. Like, let's say I'm playing my Joda deck. It's really good compared to you 3 people. But if I start playing it with some other people, hey, maybe it's not so good. Maybe they have counters. Maybe they kill Joda real fast. You know, like who knows what the situation would be. Maybe it's not as good as I think it is.
Yeah.
Well, what's the alternative?
There is no alternative.
Okay, see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.
Well, we can talk about how other sports and how other games, how do they describe evenly matched battles?
Okay, how does Super Smash Brothers do it?
So I know that Smash Brothers has a tier list. I mean, I was talking to somebody at the shop today who they do MMA fighting. So weight classes are something that they use to determine which kind of people would be an evenly matched fight. Tier lists, weight classes. I know that Yu-Gi-Oh has many archetypes, and that each of those archetypes like has a placement within a tier list also.
Mm-hmm.
But
some games use a point value.
Yeah.
And there's a new game coming out called Wonders of the First. It's a deck building game, and rather than ban cards or anything, they'll assign each card like a power level that's kind of separate from the game itself. So if you want to know how your decks match up, you just say, well, my deck's worth 450 points, and they say, well, mine's worth 700. We wouldn't be a good matchup. And
just because one deck in general is full of more powerful cards than the other.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, interesting. So I know I used to play X-Wing a lot. Yep. And the whole point of X-Wing was that each person rolls up to the table with a list of ships and pilots that's worth a certain number of points. And it would be worth 100 points. Mm-hmm. So you could make your list out of any combination of ships, pilots, upgrades, whatever, that added up to 100 points. Now, even though two opposing players, both of their lists may be 100-point lists, they still had tier lists over what strategy was being used in each list. Because I could pull up with 100 points of really thematic Red Squadron X-Wings, with Luke, Biggs, Darklighter, and Wedge. But they would still be absolute trash against, a tier 1 Jumpmaster list that was ready to alpha strike with missiles and just blow 2 ships off the table in round 1.
Yeah.
So, well, that's true too. So, tier lists I think are one, but I think it's really difficult, particularly for a game like Commander, and we do know that Modern Magic and CEDH do this. They do have tier lists for really competitive decks.
Yeah,
the decks that are constantly winning in events.
Yeah, basically any competitive circuit is going to have tiers. I know Dota has tiers. Mm-hmm. We mentioned Smash Brothers. Basically any format that has a defined pool of characters or cards or whatever is going to have tiers. I know mobile games have tiers. I remember when we played Gundam Battle, different parts would have tiers.
Yep.
And there were certain builds. They would say, hey, if you're trying to build this kind of Gundam, you need these legs and these arms and this weapon. Or they would say, here's a group of weapons that you choose from if you want to do that sort of thing. And if you're not using that group of weapons, you're in a lower tier. And
I remember people going with the 100% cooldown list.
Yep.
That way you could spam your EX move. That way you could spam your special moves and never have to wait for any cooldowns.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
and if you weren't running a 100% cooldown list, then almost by definition, your suit, your Gundam, was going to be worse than a lot of other people's.
Yeah. Although then they were like, okay, what kind of special moves do you include in your 100% cooldown list?
Yeah.
And once that started becoming rampant, pretty much every competitive meta has the rock, paper, scissors as well, right? Yeah. Where some strategy beats another. So once the heavy cooldown lists became really popular, a lot of people would start doing control builds, basically like, oh, if you're close to me, you can't use a special move. or if you or I'm going to use special moves that freeze you in place.
Yeah.
Things like that, and then it became or at least a way. Obviously, in Gundam Battle, the way to get the most points was winning quickly, so people didn't necessarily want to use the control builds because even if you won handily, you still got fewer points.
Yeah, time was still a factor in your overall point earning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyways, so yeah, different builds, but the rock paper scissors thing is something I wanted to point out there, which is a lot of these, if you're playing a Pokemon deck, you might be playing a top tier deck, but every deck has a weakness, one strategy or one type of deck that will shut it down, or a silver bullet card.
Yeah.
I remember when we played, I think I was playing kind of you couldn't really net deck back then, but I think I had stumbled on the Energy Trans deck that I had.
Yeah.
In a magazine, and that was about as close to net decking as you got back then.
Yeah.
And so I would say it was probably a tier list, but you just played amok, and it didn't work. The whole thing was shut down. And I know
toxic gas ignores all powers other than toxic gas. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, a silver bullet card that can knock out a tier list.
Yeah. So what makes something top tier?
I mean, I guess no matter what game you're playing, I would think that there are some qualities that make something top tier. Speed would be one. Something that gets its game plan on very, very fast. And that's why popular, powerful Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks can win or be in a winning position literally on turn 1.
Yeah. And
I think the real problem with Casual Commander is, the reason why it, we'll never have something really, like a tier list or whatever, is because we don't have Casual Commander tournaments.
Yeah.
Because how do you determine what's good?
What's casual?
Well,
all right.
What's casual, but what's good? It's the ones that win these tournaments, and then get the exposure, and people want to copy it, and then the things that can beat it stay up there, the things that don't go down a tier list, and etc.
All right, I just had a crazy idea for a way to rate the decks on 1 to 10. Okay.
All right, here we go. Randy's got an
right,
idea.
So,
y'all buckle up.
Do we all agree that we would say a CEDH deck is usually turn 3, maybe 4? It's winning, right?
It has executed its game plan. I know that there are stacks decks that are considered tier, and they would take forever to win.
Okay. But
yes, I will in general
that would be
agree
an outlier.
that turn 3 or 4, the deck is in a winning position. Yeah.
All right.
Someone out of the 4 is trying to win.
So I'm trying to think of the way to word it so that it makes sense. Take the number of turns that it would take for you to get into a winning position and subtract it by 13, or from 13. So if you have a power 10 deck, 13 minus 3 turns is a 10. If it takes you 6 to 7 turns, okay, well then you got so 6, you have a 7. If it takes you 6 turns to be I could probably win from this state. There you go. You're at a 7. That's just a simple. And then if it takes you 13 turns, or 12 to 13 turns, you're at a 1.
You know what, you guys? It's simple. It's elegant. I like it.
Okay.
A turn counter.
Is that based on goldfishing?
Yeah.
I guess so. I guess that's the best way to do it is to goldfish.
Goldfish your deck 10 times and figure out what the average go off turn is.
Yeah. And then that's, hoping that there's no interaction. I mean, these are best case scenarios. No one stops you from popping off on turn 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Know. Now, of course, if you're playing CDH, you're probably playing against a blue player.
Right. That's what
or someone with interaction.
And that's what I was going to ask. How do you determine the power level of somebody who's playing a blue-black deck?
I didn't say it was perfect. I was just sitting here, and it just kind of came to me. I'm like, there you go. Just subtract it from 13.
It's good for battle cruiser Magic. I'd say it is good for casual.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not a scale that works for CEDH though.
Okay, well then I figured out how to rank casual decks.
I like it.
Maybe subtract from 15 or 14 because I don't know if there are any casual decks that win by turn 3, so maybe you raise your number a little bit.
I mean, I think Travis Yeah, this was 1-on-1. This was not 4-player CDH.
Uh-huh.
But my dragon deck before Miriam, I can't remember which
Atarka
it was.
Atarka World
World-
Runner, yeah.
I think it was turn 4 I beat you with Infect.
Yeah.
But that was a one.
Yeah. That was Super Magical Dreamland.
Yeah.
You know, like I had the ramp package hit me all of a sudden. He didn't have any way to stop it. I had my commander out turn 3, and then I think I played grafted exoskeleton, and then equipped it that next turn. Bing, bang, boom.
Yeah, and
dead.
I just had nothing.
Yeah.
So
Now again, that is Pixie Magical Dreamland, whatever. But
I mean, guys, it was basically a goldfish, except I was the goldfish.
I flushed you down that toilet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I certainly think speed is one thing. Some things I was thinking about are responsiveness.
Okay, so yeah,
Like, how good is the deck at stopping other decks from winning?
so interaction.
Okay, yeah, interaction. Because that's another quality of really powerful Yu-Gi-Oh decks, is they'll, like, if they're not winning on turn 1, just outright through attacking or whatever. Like, for example, if they go first, but since they're not allowed to attack when they go first, like, the other way is to build a board full of negates or counters or control.
Yeah.
Build a board full of cards that say, when your opponent tries to do this, stop it, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So those are also really powerful ways to compete, I guess, to be strong.
Yeah.
Is interaction and control with the other deck.
Yep.
Or with the other army, or with the other whatever game you're playing.
Right. Yeah. How much can you stop? So the first one, speed, is basically how quickly can you get your game plan online.
Yeah.
Now you're saying how much can you stop the other player from getting their game plan online? And then I would say the next one would be consistency, right? Are you a glass cannon? Every once in a while, a modern deck will come out that says I can win on turn 1 or turn 2 30% of the time. And when I don't draw the right cards in the right order, then my deck does literally nothing.
Ooh, 30% is huge, though.
Yeah,
That's really good.
So it's like auto win 30% of the time, and then auto lose probably 30% of the time. And then the question is, how fast is the rest of the meta? If you don't win on turn 1 or turn 2, do you have time to kind of draw into your combo or something? And so
Right.
And early on in Modern's development, they had their ban philosophy was basically saying, yeah, we can allow decks that can win on turn 1 or turn 2, but not consistently. If it can consistently go off on that early, then we ban cards out of it until it can no longer be that consistent. You would have decks that were based on playing a Grizzlebrand, on turn 2 and swinging with it 3 times or something.
Yeah.
But that was basically impossible. But you could pull it off some number of times.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyways, your ability to not just be fast, but to be fast on a regular basis. Maybe the fastest you can win is on turn 4, but you're regularly winning on turn 6. If the fastest you can win is on turn 2, but you're regularly winning on turn 8, then that's not as good as a deck that wins on turn 4, but regularly wins on turn 6.
Yeah, I agree. Now, is there any way to quantify these so that a person could know their ranking or how their deck is on these scales?
Well, there's one more thing, and then I think the answer is yes, right?
Okay.
The last thing is resiliency, right?
Okay.
So
Resistance to control.
yes.
Yeah, resiliency.
Yeah. So all those things, how do you measure it? I think before the show, Derek was talking about things that he would look for, and I think they roughly map onto the stuff we just talked about. So Derek, what were some of the stuff that you were...
Yeah, so like when I sit down, the things like the 7 means nothing to me, but if you tell me how many tutors your deck has, how many infinite combos your deck has, what the mana base looks like, and even kind of like what the budget is. I know the budget isn't, good decks can be cheap and bad decks can be expensive. But those kind of things, I have a very good idea of what kind of deck I'm facing. It's like, oh, this person has a ton of tutors, an infinite combo. They're trying to find the pieces to this thing as fast as possible. Mm-hmm. They're trying to get that consistency that we were talking about with the winning ability.
Yeah.
And using tutors to speed that process up.
I know for me, if I'm playing with someone and like as they're shuffling, if I see like a tropical island, I'm just gonna go, ugh.
Yeah.
I already know what I'm in for. I'm gonna target you the entire game.
Yeah,
You're running $400 lands.
those high budget cards are clear indicators of like, this is my baby deck.
Yeah.
Like I have put something that's worth a lot of money, no matter whether you pulled it in a pack or whether you bought it specific or whether you bought it as a single. But if you spot a high dollar card in a deck, it is almost always an indicator either of just direct power or just the fact that that player thinks this deck is something really special because they've put a really special card into it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you know, we've talked before, Randy didn't go out and buy as a single his Mana Crypt or his Mana Vault.
Lord, no.
But when he puts them both in Darien, King of Kaeldor, we know that deck is something special, and it is going to be more powerful than his other decks are.
I mean, they're not both in there. Only the one that has the potential to deal damage.
Oh, the one that deals damage to you.
Yeah.
So
I think the other one's in Brago.
Okay.
Because I can untap it without having to pay.
Oh, that's right. So, Derek, I agree with you that budget is a major factor, I think.
Yeah.
Would it be overall budget, or just do you think individual high-dollar cards could be an indicator?
I know what my decks are, like, budget-wise, $300, $400, $500.
Yeah.
In and around that area. So if someone comes out with a thing that's like $1,000 or $900, something like that, it's like, oh god, they've got something really like expensive in there. Because I use the Shocklands, I use the Triomes, you know, like those add up a lot.
Yeah.
But there is something that, you know, is out of normalcy of like cost to make the deck that expensive, which is definitely a you know, exclamation point above my head that I need to be wary of. Like in budget, it's not super helpful because some cards just don't get reprinted. Like, you know, Dragon, it's not like the best card in the world or anything, but it was like $100 at one point because they wouldn't reprint it.
Right. So, like, infinite combos, tutors, because those increase consistency. The quality of your opponent's mana base, because those increase speed and consistency. I usually want to know, like, what my opponent's general game plan is.
Yeah.
I like to know the archetype of deck that my opponent's playing. So in Yu-Gi-Oh, that means like a select set of cards designed to work together. But in a lot of other games, it just means like, are you playing aggro? Are you playing control? Are you playing mid-range? Or high damage? Or sniping? Or, you know, whatever kind of game you're playing. Mm-hmm. Are you doing haymakers or the long game? Are you doing a Muhammad Ali, you know, resilience, mid to late game strategy, you know, things like that. I do like to know what type of archetype I'm going up against.
Yeah. I feel like you can look at a commander these days and kind of get the idea of what the deck wants to do, though. I think a lot of decks, they've made so many like niche, like commander abilities that's like, oh, this one can like is really only used for tokens, so that must be what they're doing. Or this one, like we were just talking about Kalimni, the experienced giant person who gets big. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, they must be playing big creatures to make her a Voltron commander or something.
Speed, control, consistency, resiliency. Do you think those are qualities that can transfer to lots of other games?
Yeah, I think it can transfer to basically every game that we're talking about. Like, you know, in the Dota tiers, you would consider like, hey, what's, you know, how quickly can I kill something versus how much damage can I take versus how quickly can I heal versus how quickly can I recharge.
Yeah.
You know, same thing with Gundam, right? A lot of, if you had the infinite cooldown, then you're looking at power level, but often that meant you were skimping on armor or something, a speed or something like that. So you're hoping that you have the right combination of abilities to get in. Same thing with Smash Brother characters, right? The ones that can tank a hit or something, or actually anything that you would refer to as a tank is giving up one level of things for resiliency, right? Or for So I think knowing where you're maxing out your stats and knowing where you're weak and certain, right? If you're playing a control deck, you're gonna have a much harder time against a resilient deck than you are against a glass cannon, right? And so yeah, I think that's true in a lot of different games.
So, listener, the purpose of this discussion today was, remember, we said that discussion of power level, it's useful because you can talk to other players and determine if a match will be fair or not.
Yeah.
And that's what we like. In healthy metas, we want even matches because we want even win percentages. You know, we have a group of 4, and the healthiest our meta is when we each have a 25% win condition, because that means we can be socially healthy and happy with our games. In order to do that, our games need to be even. And these are kind of what we've determined are the qualities that are useful in that discussion. Now, in Magic specifically, if you're trying to find an even match, you might just ask about infinite combos, tutors, the mana base, the budget of the deck, or the budget of specific cards. But these qualities, speed, control, consistency, and resiliency, these qualities can be transferred to lots of different games. Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, both the video game and the card game. I know, Derek, whenever we played Pokemon on the video game for a long time, I had several Pokemon that were just glass cannon Pokemon that were max attack, and then I would max EV train them for attack, and then they'd be full of attacks that had 120 and 150 power. And all I wanted to do was get a same type attack bonus off attack once. Like, that's how that Pokemon worked.
You're talking about when we did it together or against?
Yeah, when we did it together, or whenever I played students at school. I had some Pokemon who that was their job. You know, my Dragonite, who had Outrage and Dragon Dance. He needed to have enough resiliency to pull off one Dragon Dance, and then he would just use Outrage over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Like, that was his strategy. But if somebody else was more resilient, or if somebody else could paralyze me or confuse me before that could happen, then that was going to shut that Pokemon down. On the other hand, I had a Togekiss that had Air Slash, Serene Grace, a King's Rock, and Thunder Wave. So I would Thunder Wave them to make them paralyzed, and then Serene Grace plus the King's Rock would increase flinching chance, and then I would use Air Slash, which had a high flinching chance too. So the opponent would either flinch and not be able to attack, or they'd be paralyzed.
I remember that.
And not be able to attack either. So that's a very different Pokemon because it requires a little bit of setup, and it needs to be resilient enough for its setup also. So things like that. So no matter what game you're playing, you can talk to your opponent about the strategy that you intend to go into if you want your match to be as evenly matched as possible. Like we always say, if you're going in to a competitive environment where the goal is to win at all costs, we certainly don't expect you to give this information to your opponent. Right, guys?
I mean,
Correct.
Yeah, like there's no reason to give all this extra bonus information to your opponent. But if you're in for a casual night with no prizes on the line, this is good information that you can give in order to have an evenly matched game.
Yeah, I don't think I would care about telling a stranger, or certainly not you guys, but I don't think I would care about a stranger. Like, usually it's just like one person, and I want to make sure they feel like comfortable and like not safe, but you know, like they feel kind of at home playing with us. So I want to be like as open as I can about what they're getting into.
Yeah. We've had the conversation before about saying, if this was somebody's first time playing with us, we want it to be as if it wasn't the first time. Mm-hmm. You know, they would have a chance against my deck. They would know what to do if they had played it before. So if I can give them a little bit of knowledge, if I can give them a little bit of information about it, then it's like giving them that experience. Mm-hmm. Any final thoughts? Derek, this was your lukewarm take. Do you think this is a suitable replacement for the 1 to 10 power level?
Yeah, I mean, knowing this kind of stuff, like telling me combos, tutors, mana base, that kind of stuff, I know what I'm getting into, and I feel like it just makes an easier. Like, I know it's not as fun as just saying I've got a 7, I've got an 8. Like it's not as like tidy of a bow as just a number is, but I feel like it gives a much better indicator of the kind of night I'm about to have, and I can kind of prepare accordingly. Like, oh, like I don't want to get stomped on all night. I don't have that much time free. I want to make sure I'm getting the most out of my time as I can. I don't know. For me, I think it's better. But I'm a narcissist, so.
Randy, any final thoughts?
Randy's waking up. Oh, hello?
No, I mean, I don't know. I feel like y'all covered everything pretty well.
Randy, whenever I go to Montags to play and we end up with a stranger, I'm just going to start using your casual commander power level formula.
Hey, I love to hear it.
Which is the number 15 minus the number of turns it takes my deck to win.
Love to hear it. But I mean, it to me, it makes sense, you know.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, that turn count gives a huge bit of information, I feel.
Yeah.
Because if a deck is winning on turn 3, it has to be through doing some type of infinite combo.
Yeah.
Because 3 lands plus 3 1-mana creatures can't do it. You know,
Right.
A 3-mana creature can't do it by themselves. So it's got to be some combination of, ramp plus searching up a combo piece plus 2 cards that interact with each other or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Benjamin, any final thoughts before our words of wisdom, or just jump straight into it?
No, so we'll jump straight into it. So really, I'm just glad to have all of us back. It's been a long time. I know if you're listening and Travis did a great job of queuing up a bunch of episodes and making sure that you didn't miss us for too long, but I've missed y'all. And so
Yeah.
And so even though today was just about power level and stuff, ultimately, as my brother said, it's all about making sure that everybody can have a good time together, right? Making sure that you can find even matches where people will get the chance to do their thing, have exciting plays, and have a good time. And that's what this podcast is all about. So I'm glad y'all are back.
Oh, that was sweet. Yeah, I'm glad to be back. I missed you guys, and I'm excited to get more episodes in. I am excited to start getting 2 episodes a week going. I want to start releasing a My Mythical Meta episode and a News from the Warfront episode each week.
Well, let's see if we can do it.
So that's in the pipelines. That's where we're going from here. All right. Thank you guys very much for hanging out. Listener, thank you for sticking with us throughout the summer and for joining us for the fall. And we hope you stick around forever. Benjamin, what's our Patreon address?
www.patreon.com/mymythicalmeta.
Randy, pop quiz. What's the email address that people can use to contact us directly?
Son of a gun. I don't see it written down anywhere, so...
Yeah, that's right. I was seeing if you remembered it.
Brett, it's been 3 weeks.
I never bothered to learn it.
MyMythicalMeta@gmail.com.
Whoa, you remembered that by yourself?
No.
Should I leave my frantically typing sound?
Yes.
Sound of me
Enhance
frantically
it.
typing.
Enhance it.
Yeah.
Enhance. MyMythicalMeta@gmail.com. Thank you guys for being my great friends. Adios.
Bye.
Later.
Goodbye.
This episode was sponsored by Eldorado Gaming. Use the promo code META for 10% off your order. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. This episode was edited by me, Travis Konishek, and our intro and outro music is by Tyler Heath of the Oh Hellos.